Hi, I'm Carmen DeGiovane, and welcome to HRS 5200, Assistive Technology for Seating and Mobility. This week we'll be focusing on Module 6, Postural Support for Hands-Dependent Sitters and Prop Sitters. Before I go into that, I want to jump back and talk a little bit about Module 3, in particular pressure management. As many of you know, I graded the video case study number 2, which was an interview with Jeremy, and I just want to comment on some of the things that you posted. First thing, overall, you're absolutely doing a great job of taking what you learned in HRS 5100 around the HAP model and bringing it into HRS 5200. So overall, doing a great job. Just some things that I want you to work on. You know, I often talk about the 80-20 rule. You get 80% of it right, and then you got to work on 20%, and that's the case here. So for some of you, just check out the resource by United Spinal Association called Disability Etiquette. They have a great website. It talks about the language around disability and how you should potentially can interact with individuals with disabilities, and how do you talk about individuals with disabilities in your writing. It's just one of many resources that are out there. In terms of the ADL section, I really want you to focus on, or the activities section, I really want you to focus on activities of daily living as is defined in the OT practice framework. Check out table 2 in the OT practice framework. I provided a link there, and just focus on the ADLs as they describe it in there. I know oftentimes people use the term ADL to describe a number of things, but for these assignments, I'm trying to break things up into components to make it a little bit easier for you to address and to know what to address in the assignments. So take a look at table 2 in the OT practice framework, 4th edition. So there's a new edition, 4th edition. In terms of body systems and structures, in the future address the impact of the diagnosis. And in this case, we're talking about an individual with a C5, C6 spinal cord injury. As a good place to start, I recommend checking out the undergrad resources for more information. In this assignment, you would have specifically looked at the resource Understanding Spinal Cord Injury Part 2, Recovery and Rehabilitation. And so you just put some information about what does it mean to have a C5, C6 spinal cord injury or a cervical spinal cord injury. You don't have to get real specific on the level of injury. So I want you to try to do a little bit better job with that. Also, in terms of body systems and structures, include a short note in your discussion post if you use information from a particular website. You don't have to do a formal citation, just a little note, some of this material is from website X, Y, and Z. And then finally, in terms of goals, this is a seating and mobility course, so I really want you to focus on goals that relate to seating and wheel mobility. That focus on seating and wheel mobility. For example, Jeremy identified a number of assistive technology related goals in the video, but I want you to consider what his goals might be around seating and mobility and incorporate those in your posts. So think about that in future posts and future assignments. One last thing, I just want to jump back to the activities section. Also, in terms of participation, you can use the table 2 in the OT practice framework to help you identify areas that would go under participation. So basically, ADLs references activity, everything else in there references participation. Moving on to Module 5, standardized measures and postural supports for hand-free sitters. In that last module, I guess I've been standing in one place too long. There we go. You never know what's going to happen. You started to match the assistive technology to the human based on seating, mobility, and pressure management assessment. I reintroduced the tools that we learned about earlier in the course and provided a link to that instructable. I hope some of you checked it out, the instructable on how to make a goniometer. The readings were chapter 3 and chapter 6. Actually, chapter 6, I don't have a quiz on it, but I think you're going to be referencing that chapter often through the rest of the course, or you should be referencing chapter 6 often throughout the rest of the course, because it talks about the standardized measures that we'll be using in other modules. provided a bunch of videos. I hope you enjoyed those videos. I hope you found them helpful. And then the assignments, we had a quiz that focused on the anatomy of seat cushions. One of the things that came up for a couple people was the difference between a pressure relieving cushion and a pressure relieving and postural support cushion. And I used the example of a ROHO, and so the ROHO, they have the low profile or high profile cushion that's just a single component, has single compartment, just one compartment. And in that case, that's just a pressure relieving cushion. On the other hand, the ROHO Quattro has 4 quadrants, so that's pressure relieving and postural support, because you have the 4 quadrants of air that you can work with to change the way it supports an individual and either accommodate or fix a postural asymmetry. So that's the difference between the two. Why one, the ROHO low profile or single compartment, is a pressure relieving cushion, and the Quattro is a pressure relieving and postural support cushion. Okay, moving on to Module 6, a lot going on here. Module 6 is postural support for hands-dependent sitters and prop sitters. Module 6, we focused on hands-dependent sitters and prop sitters. Hands-dependent sitters can include individuals with cervical spinal cord injury or high-level thoracic spinal cord injury, or spinal muscle atrophy in the early stages, and it depends where you are in that transition. Prop sitters, on the other hand, include individuals with a high-level cervical spinal cord injury and a late-stage progressive neuromuscular disease. Prop sitters are considered the most challenging individuals to identify seating solutions that address their function, comfort, and pressure relief. And I'm sure you figured that out from reading the chapter 5. Because there's a lot of information in there. So just take it slow when you're going through chapter 5. In terms of chapter 4, there's 4 great case studies in there. Just take your time going through those case studies. They'll really help you understand how you can use seating system solutions to support individuals who are considered hands-dependent sitters. I'm still working on the quiz. I'm sorry about that. It's been more challenging to update the quiz than I thought it was going to be, so I will get that out to you shortly, and I'll extend the deadline for the quiz. The quiz will cover chapters 3, 4, and 5. And of course, the grad students have case report 1 due for module 6. In terms of cool assistive technology for seating and mobility, Theresa Berner gave a grand rounds presentation on February 9th. That talked about a presentation that she gave with Lynn Warby at the University of Pittsburgh. And she gave some great resources on maintenance guides for manual wheelchair users and power wheelchair users. Also talked about the manual wheelchair app, and also some training videos from the iWheel Consortium in Canada. So I recommend checking out the links. I'll include the links in my notes, and I'll also include those links in the YouTube posting. So to wrap up, unfortunately, the Cincinnati Bengals did not win the Super Bowl. We were all bummed. It was a great game. I thought they had it, and just that fourth quarter, they just couldn't hold on. It was a super exciting game. There was talks about going and taking a drink out of the Ohio River if they won. I always say it doesn't hurt you if it doesn't kill you. So I guess that would have been the case for drinking out of the Ohio River. I don't know if I would have done it. So this is just the first. Next year, the Bengals are going to go and they are going to win the Super Bowl. You heard the prediction here first. Reach out to me if you have any questions about the course. Have a great week, and remember to keep an eye out for cool seating mobility technology. Thanks.